All right. Yeah. So good
No,
evening,
go ahead.
everyone. Yelena, you want to start, or would you like me to start first?
No, start you.
Okay. So the purpose of today's session is to help you with your last assignment, where you're gonna work on a chatbot. Yes. Okay. So here is the agenda. And we're going to talk about the chatbot, key chatbot terminology that you should have studied by now. We're going to apply this terminology to build, deploy, and monitor the Mr. BMI chatbot application. After this session, you're going to have I'm going to give you the JSON file for the applications that I share with you today. We're going to talk about some tips and tricks and best practices. And of course, you'll have room for question and answers. And another topic is Yelena is going to present something special for you. We're gonna call it bonus, right? Something that you may or may not have heard about it before. So, important reminders, and I don't know how many times I should repeat it or how loud should I shout about it. Your chatbot, your dialogue must be ready 2 to 3 days before the assignment is due, because you're going to be running an experiment where you're going to ask your friends, or you can ask me, anybody could participate, right? And you will need to look at the conversation data, but you have to do it day 1 and day 2. If you not, if you do not have your dialogue ready, right, you're gonna miss out a very nice experiment. So please have it ready 2 to 3 days before the assignment is due. Please do not deactivate your IBM Cloud account. Do not enter the credit card information. Do not submit any tickets, right? And also, before you start the walkthrough, very important, you must earn at least 70% on a key concepts quiz in the course content. Please, because otherwise you're gonna feel like I'm speaking foreign language when I try to help you. Okay? Now, the chatbot is developed must be an application in your area and your original work. For example, you cannot turn in the applications that I'm going to be doing today. You cannot turn in Mr. Cold and expect to get credit for assignment 4. It should be an original. For example, it could be something like IT application for troubleshooting. It could be ticket reservation system, well, etc. Right? Or it could be university advisor based on your interest that can provide what program is best for you, things like that. Please pay attention to assignment deliverables. We all know how to count until 2, right? So if you don't submit 2 files, right, if JSON file is missing, there is no way to grade your work, right? Then remember that the deletions cannot be undone. If you delete part of the dialog, is gone. So please export the JSON file before you delete, so you have a backup, right? And remember this quote: the only mistake you can make is not asking for help. Yes, because you have to ask for help. You don't want to be stuck on something for days, right? Ask for help. So this is just a copy of must know terminology. I believe it must be somewhere in a classroom, right? So, for instance, if you don't understand what intent is, what use, I'm going to be talking about intents. If you have not studied that vocabulary, you're going to be thinking, what language did you speak? Chinese or Russian or French, whatever. You won't understand what I'm talking about, right? If I'm talking about sluts, you don't know what slut is, you'll be lost. So please know this. Now, you may have heard this terminology called bot, right? Bot is just an application that runs automatically based on any trigger. It's just a system. It solves a specific problem, right? But the chatbot, it also understands your language. It has an intelligence in a certain context. It interacts with user to solve specific problem. Like, for example, I could say that I'm interested in a graduate program, right? Then it could ask me questions based on the graduate programs and etc. And based on that, it could tell me what I might be what program might be good for me, right? It's an education area. Or sometimes, for example, if I'm doing reservation, I perhaps want to reserve the airplane ticket, and based on that, it's going to ask me perhaps on what day of the week I want to fly, what's my desired destination, and things like that. It's based on a certain concept. And it's also meant to solve specific problem. Like for example, if I train my chatbot about BMI, right, that we can see today, it won't be able to answer my questions about the CPR, right? Because it's not trained for that specific topic, right? So this is high-level application development steps. Elena, do you know, let me know when you would like to.
I should have already, before the deep dive to the specific thing, let's do something higher level, which I'm
Yes.
going to do.
Yes.
So I'm going to stop your screen sharing, and I'm going
Go
to
ahead.
just
You just
share.
start share. It will, I think, it will unshare. I can stop sharing and then
Okay,
you share.
please.
Yes. So yes, just remember, this is a specific task. Just what an assistant is specific task. Now,
Okay. I just want to remind you, before we going in the deep dive to this very, very specific assignment, when we started the class, this class, in the first meeting we have synchronous, I presented something, and this is one of the slides which was presented. So in this slide, I tried to make the point, how is this related to AI? How our course is related? I guess up to now, that was like, I believe, totally detached at that point. But I think by now, by several 10 weeks or something like this, I think the idea is getting closer. Why we are talking about of this merge of big data, machine learning to what evolving of the contemporary AI. And we can see it today. Just think happening since last December up to today is exciting. Just the way AI development took over in the last 6 months is something amazing, exciting. I don't know how many labels we should put on that. And I'm talking about, everyone knows about ChatGPT, which is just one very specific evolvement of this field, which was born exactly the same way is represented here. This is very general idea. The general idea presented this way is that you see the meaning of the course and you understand the big idea around AI and big data, because when you get in the deep dive to do a specific assignment, sometimes you lost perspective about the big picture. And here is where we are. Here is ChatGPT. Here is some very exciting AI application, which I would say one of the few professions which actually directly will be impacted by the existence of ChatGPT is the data scientist. So using this technology, ChatGPT will increase your productivity enormously and will do some of the tasks for you, like pre-processing, even building the model, and you will do as a human being something much more intelligent, much more training, using treat which the AI today doesn't have. Okay, so that was the purpose of my interruption here to the flow of this walkthrough, which is very specifically oriented toward building a specific chatbot based on certain technology. So when you see and compare, you will feel a little confused what you are doing, why you are doing. Let me tell you, I felt that we have to give you the best possible practical work to do related with the topic of the course, and we will update as much as possible the, let's say, the development evolve. You understand that we cannot change the course content 1 week after the other. The only thing which we were able to change is the topic of the last discussion of this course. Because if we will try to ask you, build a specific chatbot using the GPT, this is possible potential application, but it's not ready to be prepared for a classroom, even not outside of the classroom. Let's put it this way. If we as an instructor are telling you, yes, as a data scientist, you will be using GPT as a tool. This is true, and it's going to be true for some years, because I even cannot predict what is going to happen since this happened with such a speed. I'm afraid nobody of us can predict what is going to happen in very new future. So if we ask you to build a specific, let's say, chatbot, you understand this is a customer service application, right? You are going to serve customer of some realm with this chatbot, with this agent. Using ChatGPT is totally understandable that can serve this purpose. Just you must understand that at this point, you can use ChatGPT not infinitely. You can be kicked out if you stay more than certain time asking questions regarding the same thing. I guess most of you already have experimented with ChatGPT because everyone is curious. And the stage in which this technology is right now is just not reliable enough to tell you do the work with ChatGPT. Of course, as a data scientist, you can experiment, but this is at this moment. At the moment we are talking about the state of the art today, the technology is not, we cannot rely that you will be able to complete your homework, your project. Do you understand me? So nobody in school is going to ask you until the technology is this way to use this technology for coursework. You understand? You can still test it, you can still try it, you will be data scientist. Curiosity of the threat of the data scientist is one of the top characteristics. So everything is okay, just this is on your own. As a formal education, we have to work in something which is which will permit you to complete the work. So that so I want that you are clear in this, in what is the difference, in order to develop this very, very, very specific application to reflect and react in the topic we are talking about. Moreover, if for another course, students are asking the professor, can we use ChatGPT to generate Python code, the model? The answer will be yes. I can tell you, I'm running the program, and today the answer is yes. But that is in your own. That's not our instruction in the classroom. Why? Because maybe even the generation of the code at the time you are sitting there is not going to be complete. You will have to complete it. So there is no assurance you will get completely working code, complete code. As a person who knows coding in Python, you will have to test it, prove it, and enhance it, finish it, all these things. So again, as a tool, you can use it on your own at the moment. Now, for this specific task, which is to build a customer service, this is customer service application in the area you want, in buying flight, vacation, ordering restaurant, healthcare, whatever topic you choose for customer support, you should formally follow the instruction and use the technology we have provided, because this is the only thing we are able at the moment to test and know how it works. ChatGPT is still not stable in order to ask anybody to do coursework with ChatGPT. So I'm just hoping for question. I don't have more. I just wanted to open here a parenthesis and sneak this burning topic because it's directly related with our course, is directly related. I don't know how the discussion is going, but I will find time to see how it's evolving, because I know the burning question, what is the future? Is this AI substitute human? When we should expect this to happen? How we can prevent wrong thing happening with the evolution of AI? They are hundreds of burning questions related, which at the moment we can discuss totally okay in class, and we have to align ourselves with the practical assignment, with what we have tested and we know it works. So I don't want to get to eat more time from the assignment for this very important walkthrough. So if any question, I will be happy to answer, or we continue with Elena's walkthrough in the chatbot, because there are a lot of steps to follow in order to build the assignment. Any question for me? No? Perfect.
All right. So for this course, what you will do for this assignment, we are going to define the application purpose, right? And you're gonna define the scenarios, and I'm gonna show you exactly. Then you're gonna use the button assistant service on the IBM Cloud to implement the chatbot. Then you're gonna try in your application, right? You will deploy. In this case, deploy is just to create an assistant. You're gonna monitor the conversation log and try to identify the limitation in your current implementation, and you want to suggest the enhancements, right?
Excuse me, Yelena, can you speak more into the microphone? You're
Oh.
fading in and out a little bit.
Trying. Okay.
That's
So
good.
okay, so here are the steps that you're gonna do, right? You're gonna develop the chatbot. You're gonna monitor the application, right? You're gonna monitor the. You're gonna identify the limitation, right? You're gonna suggest enhancements. Okay. For today, we're gonna look at Mr. BMI chatbot application. So here is a mission. The user may use that to estimate the to explain what the blood pressure readings mean, to then use the height in inches and weight in pounds to estimate the BMI. Now, limitation number one, you have to specify the height in inches and weight in pounds. The application does not allow using different metrics, so that's one limitation, right? Then instead of spending hours, right, trying to figure out how to calculate your BMI, you just get it, just simple, just enter two numbers and you got it, right? Then you don't need to contact the doctor unless you're not feeling well, and you can use the application 24/7, and it's free, and the answers are consistent. Like for example, if I enter my blood pressure is 120/80, I get the answer that my blood pressure is normal. And if Professor Azan enters the same readings, he gets that his blood pressure is normal, etc. So it's consistent, right? Well, but unfortunately, that's another limitation. To answer new questions, the application needs to be trained, right? Like for example, it cannot answer what are the steps to perform CPR because it's not trained on this topic, right? So here, just assume that you have a doctor office, and the doctor office has 3 doctors on duty: Mr. Monitor, Miss Stethoscope, and Mr. BMI. So basically, the doctor who is currently on duty will greet you and will tell you, will give you the menu of what you can do. Well, basically, maybe it is easier if I just go in and show it here. So oops. So I have to go back. So here is, I need to relaunch my Watson Assistant because I thought I was logged in. Ooh. Okay, this is what happened. I was idle for some time, and because I was idle for some time, I just realized that my session timed out. So what I have to do is I need to log in, okay? I need to log into IBM Cloud to access the service because I was idle, that's why, okay? So I will show you how to, don't worry, I will show you how to create this link, but I need to get this link, Control C. Okay, so we are good. Oh, here it is. Sorry, here it is. My apology. But anyway, I would have to log back in anyways. So now here is assistant, right? Take a look at this. So what time of the day is it? Based on the time of the day, it is, I see this picture, different picture on time of the day. See this? So when you get this application code, right, when you're gonna get this JSON file, try running it at different times a day. You're gonna see different picture of the doctor. See, so this is a doctor, how may I help you? But in order to help the customer know what's expected, there is a drop down in here, right? So what now? Let's take a look at this. What is the scenario? Let's say this is my first scenario. I want to estimate the BMI, right? Okay, it's asking me for my height in inches. I'm gonna try. Notice that I can put 60 as a text and it's gonna recognize that it's 60, right? I enter it as a text. How many pounds do you weigh? So I'm gonna put, okay. Now what it's gonna do, based on that, it estimates the BMI and it tells me that I have a healthy weight. See this? So if someone else enters the same readings, it's gonna tell healthy weight. So this is one scenario, right? So what's the scenario? You're gonna have to create the conversation diagram, right? The scenario is one pass through the diagram, in other words. Let me refresh. We're gonna start new conversation now, right? I refreshed it, new conversation, okay? Well, you have to refresh because you want to start fresh, right? Oh, it's taking its time, but while it's taking its time, so see this, you understand that part, right? You're gonna be presented with the scenario. See, this is what I just did, but instead of entering 60 as a number, I enter it as a text and it still recognized it, right? Or I can even put I am 65 inches tall, it's gonna recognize number 65 in it, okay? Okay, so what I can do, I'll just get this link again, Control A, Control, oops, sorry, I can just do this, copy and paste. That's because, oh, here it is, there we go. Now I can click on this again, see this? And now I can select a different option. I can say, what is BMI? And what this did, well, unfortunately, this is hard-coded, but this is an explanation. And this gives me this little picture. And then it asks me again, what else I can do, right? And for example, I can say, email me the information. And it's asking me to enter the email address. And let's say I put something in wallet. It's gonna ask me to put this again, right? Please enter the wallet information again. And I put something else in wallet. It's gonna ask me again, but now, watch out, what's gonna happen? I put another in wallet, it's gonna stop. See, it says email required. See, wallet email required. I can just put something wallet now. I can try again, email me the information, and I can just put this. It's a regular expression. It's looking for the @ sign, something like that. Now this is gonna accept it. Okay? This is gonna accept it. See this? It just says the email was sent. And what else you could do here? You could do something like my blood pressure. And I'm gonna put this one, 135. Right, so systolic is a high reading, diastolic is a low reading. I'm just gonna put this, and it's gonna say that it's elevated, I believe. Yes. See this? Now it's giving me more options. What can I do? I'll just say I want to exit. And when I want to exit, the message that I get depends on time of the day when I run it. See this? It picked up the day of the week, and that's it. It says come back. If I was running this on a weekend, it would say have an exit. So what is the scenario? So let's go back here. So this is a scenario, right? Conversation scenario 1, estimate BMI, right? So you got it right here. You're gonna have the slides after this, okay? There's another scenario by blood pressure, right? So you just spelled it out. See this, you enter, and you can, again, you can put something like the lower region is 70. You can enter the text and it's gonna find that number, okay? That's explain, right? But again, explain is an intent, right? But intent is qualified what you can want to be explained. You can do explain BMI or explain blood pressure, right? You get different responses. But see this is another conversation. Email me the information, right? That was my old email when before we switched to UMGC. But anyways, the part prompts you to enter an email. If the response contains valid email address, it is extracted from user input, and it's going to be stored as a context variable, right? And it's echoed, displayed in the message. See this? If the email is incorrect, right? If it's not valid, user is gonna be prompted to re-enter. But the problem is you don't want it to be an infinite loop, right? So perhaps in my case, I just did it 3 attempts. If you enter the invalid email on the third attempt, it's gonna stop. Another thing, maybe I'm uncomfortable with giving an email, right? So maybe I want to stop, right? I should be able to exit the certain part of the conversation at any time. So if you're speaking of the technical terms, right, you have a slot. The slot is where the user is prompted to enter the input, and the input is stored in a variable, right? And the slot must have a handler, something, because I should be able to exit the conversation. If I'm not comfortable, perhaps, to specify my weight, I don't want to forget about it. I should be able to quit, right? Part of the dialogue. All right, and this is the exit. Well, here the idea is it depends on the message depends on day of the week, right? See, have a nice weekend. Then also, if it's determined that somebody may need to see an emergency care, like hypertensive crisis, then you're gonna see this message. Immediately, if your blood pressure is super high, the conversational flow is redirected to the goodbye. You're gonna see this message, and the application is gonna tell you goodbye. It's like, stop talking, you have to get to emergency room now. Okay, so that's what it is. This is a conversational flow diagram. You're gonna develop it, and as a student, you have access to Visio, right? It's one of the applications that comes in your email, right? You have a set of applications, and Visio is one. So everybody has it, right? Now, first of all, what you're gonna do is, it's just a little bit reverse engineer. You're gonna create a new skill. What is a skill? It's also called a workspace. This is an environment where you set up your dialogue, right? Well, this, what I'm talking about right now, should be a review, right? Because you should have taken the quiz by now, right? I'm not gonna call names, but you should have taken the quiz by now. So, and what are the elements in there? Intent and entity. I need to clarify here because some people have trouble understanding the difference. Intent is something that you want to do. For example, you want to turn something on, or you want to perhaps get more information on something, or you want to exit, right? Entity qualifies the intent. Like, for example, what do you want more information on? About the BMI, right? You want more information on about the CPR, just give an example, right? Turn on is an intent, but entity is what can be turned on, like air conditioning, radio, what else can be turned on? Light, etc. So this is gonna be what? The entity, right? Entity just qualifies. Okay, and I have to show you this thing because this is important. So let me go to this here. So I launched my service, right? So this is important. Some of you are gonna ask how you're gonna get this file to submit. Before I forgot, See, this is my skill that I created for Mr. BMI Health Center. If I click over here, I click download. Download, right? This is gonna download this dialog JSON file. And this is a file that you will have to submit as your assignment. But you see that this is the skill. And in here, this is the time when the skill was last updated and last created, right? So I'm gonna give you this code. I'm gonna give you the skill. You will have to do this. Create skill. You're gonna choose the dialog skill, right? Then you're gonna do next. And you're gonna do upload the skill and choose the files that I gave you, okay? I'm gonna give you this example, but I'm just telling you what you will need to do, okay? So this is a skill, right? Or also it used to be known as a workspace. If I click in here, I have an intent, right? No, I want to explain, right? Here, see, estimate the BMI. I want to email, I want to explain, I want to say goodbye. And this one is, I should have given a better name. This one, I want to know what my specific blood pressure reading means. I want to know, estimate my specific BMI. So this is what it's doing in here, okay? So there are two types of entities, remember? I've got my entities, right? In this case, my entities are what? Topic, right? Because I want an information on what? On a specific topic. So topic is an entity, it qualifies, right? And exactly in this case, I have two topics, blood pressure and BMI, which is values. And those are the synonyms because people may call it differently. I could say BMI body fat percentage, right? I could say body mass index chart, etc. The same term can be said differently, right? So here it is, see this? All right, this is little different. Valid email, what is this? This is a pattern entity, right? And here, this is a code reuse. Feel free to reuse this expression from examples that I give you, okay? So this you can do pattern for email. It's also possible to have a pattern for the phone number. But remember, if you're doing a phone number, you're gonna have two patterns, one for local in US and one for international, right? You could have more than one pattern if you're looking at the phone number, okay? Now let's go back. So those are my entities. There's also system entities. What is this? Well, those are pre-built. System time, right? I use it because I have different doctor based on the time. Remember, I also am looking at the date because what is it? The day of the week is part of the day, right? I display different message based on the day, right? I'm using numbers, okay? I'm not using this currency and I'm not using the percentage, so I don't turn them on. I only turn them on what I use, right? Okay, so my entities can be imported and they can be customized. System entities cannot be customized, but you can decide to use them, right? And also, see this, it starts with SYS, it's reserved. It's a reserved prefix for the system entity. When you create your user entity, do not start name with SYS because it's reserved for system. And this is a dialog. The dialog must start with the welcome node and end with any single node. Why? Well, because welcome node checks for dialog beginning condition. It will be triggered when the dialog starts. Then, whenever you enter the input, it's going to be checking if the entry condition for each of these guys is true. If not, it's going to go to anything else. So anything else will be triggered if nothing else is recognized. Anything else node must be where? In the end. Because suppose that if I move anything else before goodbye, goodbye will never be called. It will not be recognized because the flow will go to anything else node. Okay, so just remember it. When you are assessed, right, one of the criteria is to have welcome node first and anything else node last, right? So the instructor will be checking for that, for sure, okay? Now, Then you have, I'm gonna be talking about the analytics part, but not yet. But so just know this part here. Let's see. I did a lot of, I spelled out a lot of stuff for you, right? Explained what this is, and you're gonna have these notes, okay? You're gonna have these notes, and this is a comparison. Now, speaking of this answer to this question, your walkthrough has this question about my entities and system entities, right? But for the walkthrough, very important, do not skip any pages. Do not skip exercises because suppose that you have an exercise on page 5, right? What you have on page 6 builds on it. For instance, you might be asked to create a node as an exercise, but then the next page, you have to use that node to do something else. So please do not skip because you're going to be starting all over. If you skip a page, the only way to fix the issue would be to start all over, okay? But here, I'm just telling you what I'm using in this specific application. As you know from the walkthrough, you can add entities manually or you can import. The reason you ask to import because otherwise the walkthrough would be 200 pages long. You don't want that, right? So you're given 2 files and you're asked to import, okay? Now, this is a dialog. Remember, welcome notes and anything else notes are pre-built. They're there for you. Do not delete them, but you can customize it, right? So what's inside the note? It's a condition to determine when the note is triggered. You have a response and you have a text, option, pause, image, and also the video, okay? It's not listed in here, but you are asked to use the video, I believe, okay? Then here, this is what to do based on response, right? Like what to do at the end. We should wait for user instance, or does the conversation flow go to another dialog node, etc. Okay, and listen, skip user instance is only enabled if your node has a child node. Okay, so you've got parent nodes and you have a child nodes, and I will show you what I mean. But I told you that welcome node can be customized. So what am I doing in here? Let's take a look what I'm doing in here. Okay, so here I'm doing this. Now is just the way to get the current time. When I'm saying if right now is before 10 a.m., I want to have this response. If right now is, well, it goes between midnight and 10 a.m. Actually, that's how it goes. Here now is after 5 p.m., so it goes between 5 and midnight, right? Then it's gonna do this response. Anything else? Well, very important in this case, anything else means not between 10 and midnight and not between 5 and midnight. So it should be between 10 and 5, in other words, right? So in this case, it applies just to this response. This is not on anything else node. This applies to the specific response, right? Now, if I want to see the configuration for this response, I'm going to click here. What do I have? I have 2 response types. I have text. This is a text. And what is this? This is an image, right? So for image, remember, you cannot copy and paste the pictures. What you could do is you could just specify the image source. So this is a URL. And the URL must end with JPG or PNG, something like that. It must be a valid image URL. Sometimes you might be wondering why my image does not show. If your image does not show, you're gonna take this and you're gonna go here. You're gonna go to another browser tab. You're gonna paste the URL and see if the image URL is valid. Okay, so this is from healthcare site. I got this one. Right, you want to make sure that image URL is correct. And I believe in the Google, it depends on the browser. You can right click on the image and get the image URL. But you may need to play around a little bit, okay? So, and this one, you can add the text that you want to see as you hover over the image. Okay, now I'm gonna close this and see this is another one, right? This is another response. And I added what image URL. I cannot copy and paste pictures. I can specify the image web URL. Next thing, what's gonna happen? See the assistant response. Then what I want to do. Well, I want to jump to in this case, I want to go to the child node. And child node just displays the main menu. And I will need to explain what this is. Let me see. What do I have in the slides? I'll need to explain the options because for some people, it's a little difficult to understand, but it will follow. It will follow. In the slides will follow, but let me explain it right now, actually. Okay, look at this. Option responses have several things. Title. Title, it will show how may I help you, right? It's a prompt. Now, what is this? This is a text that I will see for each option, and the value is an intent that gets triggered when the option is selected, right? So when I select the value, when I select estimate BMI, it's equivalent to typing BMI into the prompt, okay? When I select this, email me the information, it's equivalent to typing email me, right, in the prompt. And when I select exit, it's equivalent to typing goodbye. It's gonna call the goodbye intent, right? So basically, this is like list label is what you see, right? So if I go to this here, so this is a Watson assistant, right? Label is what you see. Sometimes if you have less options, it's going to show like this. So see this estimate BMI is a label that you see. Email me the information is a label that you see, okay? But the value is an intent that get triggered, right? Like I could type exit, for example, right? I could type exit and it's going to trigger exit response, right? It's the same thing as I selected exit from the menu over here. So exit is what? It's a goodbye. It's a goodbye intent. Okay. So just make sure that this part is clear. Okay. And of course, there are conversations there are places in the conversation where I jump to this menu. Okay. What else is it doing that you may or may not see this, but I'm taking, what I'm also doing is that I'm trying to take the day of the week and to store it, okay? I'm storing the date of the week in the variable. That's what you see here. See, this says the context, and the context is this. I have a variable day, and this is the value. Now, there are two ways to set the variables. There are two ways. In your walkthrough, you are showed how to use the JSON editor, okay? You can use the JSON editor, or right now, you can also use the context editor, okay? There are two ways to do it. Oops, I have to close the JSON editor, then I have to open. Oh, it is here. See, you can use the JSON editor or you can use the context editor. Okay, so just know it. Attempt set to 0, but I use this actually for the email me node. I use it for the email me, okay? If the user reaches 3 attempts, that's it. The chatbot is not gonna keep on asking something. In this case, in this picture, you see the blood pressure, right? And then the text, oh, this is just the blood pressure. This is explain. Let me show you. This is an explain. What I did here was I created a folder, and folder is a way to group, is a way to collapse the nodes. Both nodes explain something on the topic, so I just decided to collapse them. So here, for example, explain Mr. BMI, right? So what is this here? This is a node name. This is a condition. How does this node get triggered? It recognizes what? The intent called explain, and this is an entity called BMI, right? Response type text. And of course, you have to have multiple variations, because if I hit that node more than once in a conversation, I want my chatbot to respond slightly differently, right? Different wording. Then I also have an image and etc. Okay. Of course, it would be nice to pull information from some documentations. Earlier, we had another service where you could load, you could build a set of documents, and you could query the document repository from here. It's no longer available, but Just keep that in mind, right? That you could connect with other service and you could query the database of the documents to pull information on BMI, to pull the latest documents on BMI, right? Just know that. In this case, it's hard-coded. It's a limitation of this implementation, okay? Okay, now, see this, and here it's what's to do next. You got the idea, right? Response type, it shows you different response types, right? It shows you, this is what I was talking about, right? You understand the difference between label and value. Value is what intent gets called, right? Then for the blood pressure, it's storing the data in variables, right? So you have to, in your assignment, you are required to store something. So like, for example, this is a BMI, right? What is this? This is a slot, right? Slot asks you to enter the information. It's checking for the system number. It's trying to read the number from the input, and it's going to store in a height, right? And if somebody does not enter a valid number, it's going to ask to enter it again. And then here it's going to ask for the weight. It's looking for a number in the input, right? And it's checking if it's a number, right? But of course, I should be able to quit the conversation at any time, right? So it's possible to go back to goodbye note, or I can ask a side question. What are you talking about? What's BMI? You know, things like that. Okay. So let's see, when you're working on it, as you're working on it, right? You're going to use this try it thing. Manage context. It's going to be your friend, right? I started the conversation. Look at it. What do I see? Attempt 0. Well, okay. I picked up the date. It's Thursday, right? So I know that now it's Thursday, and I don't have anything like this. I don't have the height. I don't have the weight at the moment, but I'm going to select an option now, and I'm going to do estimate BMI. Now, what is your height in inches? It's asking me to enter the height, and I'm going to enter something stupid. What is it going to do? See, it did not find the number, right? Okay. Now I'm going to enter it correctly, right? This is a number, right? Now it's asking me, let's take a look at it. What happened in here? Manage context. What happens is this, my height gets stored into the height variable. That's what I'm doing in here. Now there is no weight. It's asking me to enter weight. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to put my weight, right? I put the weight. And what's going to happen now? Okay, well, it does not, it says irrelevant, but that's okay because it's not an intent. Now let's take a look at this. Where is the weight? It's in here, right? So I've got my, no, this is a height, sorry. This is the weight, 120. So it remembered what I entered, right? Now what it's doing, based on what I entered, well, this is what it's doing. It's a calculation here, right? It's calculating, and based on what I entered, it generates a different response, right? But sometimes I need to, well, in this case, take a look at it. What is anything else in here? Anything else, it means that if it did not receive enough information to estimate the BMI. Like, for example, if I choose to exit, right? If I choose to exit, then it's going to give this message. And also it's going to go to exit node. Okay. Now you're going to use try it. Try it as your friend here, because how else are you going to troubleshoot? You have to look, you have to make sure that what you're entering is read correctly, right? Before you troubleshoot the flow, you want to make sure that the data you are reading has been read correctly, right? So see this here, and I can do, okay, now, suppose that I make some change. You have to click on clear. Every time when you make change to retest, you must click on clear. Now, what you also could do is, see this is the, you have a BMI. Okay, this is my blood pressure, right? Okay, so now it's asking you to enter the systolic blood pressure, right? I'm gonna put something. I'm gonna put this number. Take a look at this. How do I know? Did it capture it correctly? Yes, you have to check this. Now I'm gonna put this one, right? Okay, now let's see. I'm gonna enter it. Did it capture correctly? Yes, it did, right? But let's clear. I'm gonna select this again, right? This is my blood pressure. And I'm gonna enter the systolic blood pressure of 185. And I'm gonna enter diastolic is 130. What am I doing right now? See, it's saying this is it. Goodbye, right? See this? Right now, it's telling me, remember I showed you earlier, that's a crisis. You must go to the doctor immediately. So somewhere I have to specify to do what? To jump to, right? I have to specify somewhere to go to the goodbye note, right? So this is a blood pressure. Oops, oh no, looks like light flickers. Okay, so this is the blood pressure note. Oops, did I lose it? Did you guys lose me? No? Okay, so this is the blood pressure, right? Okay, so oops. You need to scroll down and you're gonna see the responses here. I believe it's in the last one or in the first one somewhere. I have a situation. Oh, here it is. If systolic is greater than 120, or diastolic is if systolic is greater, right? If it's between these numbers, then I have this logic in here. It shows this. They have a crisis, and then jump to goodbye note. It's going to jump to goodbye note. See this? It's configured in here. Gonna click cancel. That's it, right? Okay. And see, this is a folder again. You've got notes in the folder. Anything else, etc. Okay. Anything else note, it's gonna be triggered if it does not recognize. Right? If I put something like CPR, it's gonna trigger anything else note. Okay. Now let's go back to the slides. I showed you how to read numbers. All right. Email me, it's very tricky. Trust me, it's very tricky. So I have email me intent and I have email me system entities that I showed you, right? Those things took me a while to get it to work. So you cannot get it on the last minute. Here, what am I doing in here? I'm checking for email. Why it's like this? Because it's a what entity? It's a pattern entity, right? And I'm saving it in a variable called email. And see, this is here. See, it's asking to enter your email, right? There is no handler in this case, which is bad, but if you take a look at this, right, what it's doing, it's gonna check the attempt. See this? If you already, see, first time the number of attempts is 0. If you enter it incorrectly, the attempt goes up to 1, right, to give you another attempt. And to give you a third attempt number is 2. So if this is attempt number is 2, remember it's starting from 0. If attempt number 2, then that's it. Sorry, no valid email was entered, and it's gonna just exit. See, it's gonna skip, right? So this is showing you what to do, right? And otherwise, anything else, right here, if you have not reached the maximum number of attempts, it's just gonna ask you to do what? To enter valid email. Okay, I want to discard changes. So see, this is a slot. What I'm also doing is that if you exhausted the number of attempts, I'm setting the email to dummy X. And if it's a dummy X, then the user did not provide an email, right? Okay. Now, so just know this is a little bit hard, right? I had to start, you would have to start early for this part. Okay. Now, date. This is how you extract the date. This is an expression to extract the date. See this 5-letter if? it means that it's gonna extract the full date spelled out. 3-letter E, it's gonna extract the abbreviation. Okay, so see this piece here is in a menu node, I believe. Let me check. Remember, I showed you earlier, there was a context, it's in here, see this? It shows this is just how you extract the day of the week into the day, okay? There we go. And I gave you, in the end, I gave you some of the links that you could use as a reference. Feel free to reuse those expressions. This is called code reuse. This is not cheating. Cheating is submitting Mr. BMI or Mr. Cold as your work. This is cheating, right? But reusing some expressions here and there, that's fine. This is a code reuse, okay? Well, this is also goodbye node has conditional responses. I'm checking what day is it, right? So depending on a day, if it's a weekend, right? If it's a weekend, I'm just saying have a nice weekend. Otherwise, I'm just displaying the date, right? Well, basically, the reason I have it is to show you an example of how you can use the day entity, right? So this is, I have a goodbye node, right? It's here. And a goodbye node, I have a conditional response, right? So see this? This is a goodbye, right? Anything else in this case, if the day is not Saturday and not Sunday, then it's gonna go in here. And what is this? This shows what is stored in a day, right? So it's gonna say, have a nice Thursday, because today is Thursday, right? And then it's gonna display the picture. I chose not to display the picture here, right? Well, oh, no, I did actually. I chose to display the picture, but maybe it's a different one. Okay, but anyway, what I'm trying to say is that you can display the video and you can display the picture different depending on time of the day. Well, for the video response, you just specify URL. On YouTube, you can find any video and you can just get the video URL and specify. That should be easy, right? So you're asked to use video response, I believe. Yes. Okay, now let's come back here. Okay, so folder is a way to group, right? If I want to collapse, I want to collapse a certain number of nodes, expand collapse, and they could inherit some configuration. For example, if it finds the intent, explain, right? The control will go to the folder, okay? So that's also, they can inherit folder configuration if I have it. This is just what happens when you run try it. It shows me which entities are being triggered. Like see here, if I selected estimate BMI, what is triggered? This is a BMI intent, right? And the topic is BMI. And then it's gonna ask, what is your height? See this? Well, in this case, irrelevant because I'm not triggering intents in here, right? So that's what here. And I just put this for you. This is just how you would test the chatbot during the development. Chatbot testing is ongoing. It does not end at the end of the development. But this is what you will do as you develop, right? Then you're gonna build virtual assistant. How you do it? Let me walk you through it here. Okay, you're gonna go in here. Well, I already built one, but let's build another one. I'm gonna do create assistant. I'm gonna type it like this, Yelena's healthcare, right? Yelena's healthcare. This is Yelena's healthcare. I'm gonna go create an assistant, right? Now I need to add the dialogue skill. So this is my dialogue skill. That's it. Now what you're gonna do? You will have to do this. Watch. You're gonna click on the preview. This is a link that you're going to share with people who test your chatbot, okay? This is a link that you're going to share with people who test your chatbot. Got it? Okay, this is how you exit. And I'm going to delete this assistant because I already created one. I'm just going to delete. Okay, I just showed you how to create one. The reason I want to keep this one because I already did some conversations with this, right? I did some conversations here. Now what you can do, let's see. So you sent that link to your friend. Your friend ran some conversations. You're gonna go to this dialog, right? You're gonna go in a skill. There is analytics part here. You're gonna click on the overview. Well, what do you see? It shows you the number of conversations, right? See, this is this week, but you want to see it for 2 days, right? What you will have to do, you will submit a screenshot of this, and this screenshot should show total number of conversations, the dates. There should be 2 days at least. Okay, this is a number of average messages per conversation. This shows the maximum number of conversations per day, and this is a weak understanding. Sometimes my chatbot did not quite understand what I was talking about, right? But this is a screenshot that you need to have in your assignment, right? This is also just showing the trend, etc. It's going by date, okay? Here it's just showing the average messages by date. Well, this piece is okay, but this is important. You are asked to talk about total intents and total entities. Why do we care about it? Because we need to know how our customers use our chatbot. As I'm more interested in BMI, maybe we should add more features in there, right? Maybe people are not as interested in blood pressure. See, what do we need to focus on as we develop the chatbot further, right? And same here, right? Topic, and I can look up further which values of the topic, and I can look at the conversations where they were used, right? So if I click on this, oh, see this? It takes me to the conversations where this entity was used. See, I can drill down. It's going to take me to the conversations, specific conversations where I used that specific entity, right? An entity value is BMI. You see, a lot of people use my chatbot for BMI, perhaps, right? Let's go back to overview. So you're going to do that, right? Then take a look at this. It says some big understanding. You're going to click on view log. What was exactly the problem? Oh, I tried to enter some of the invalid stuff, right? Well, okay. I can open the conversation if I want to, and let's see what happens. See, please enter your email address, and I entered something invalid, right? Okay. Well, sometimes it could be valid, but the chatbot does not recognize it as valid, right? So then you would need to do this. You open the conversation, and you can always change the entity classification. You can always change the classification. See this? Like, for example, here, I say email me, and you can show the classification here. Intent is email me. And if it found the incorrect intent, you can click here and edit, okay? So you're gonna look at your conversation. Like, for example, see here, I misspelled explain. I can open the conversation here, and I can ask, see this, I can show classification, and I can ask to add this to explain. See this? I can do this. I can add this to explain, and I can click save. So next time when I mistype this, right, it's gonna recognize as explain. So you're gonna do something like that, right? Then you're gonna explain in the paper what you did. Then you're gonna do another run on day 2, different people test, or maybe same people. Then you're gonna pretend that you were going to run the chatbot for another day, what changes you would have made, right? Oh, this is a nice tab to check too, if you want to. If you want to check this tab, I would say go for it, okay? I would say go for it. All right. So here are the user conversations. You can physically go in and check. So I would say in your paper, provide some examples of big understanding in the conversation. Okay. So if you ask me to test a chatbot, I'm going to try to break it. I'm going to try to enter the synonyms that it does not recognize. Then you're going to go in to your log and you're going to try to identify it and fix the classification. Okay, I always do that when I test. I try to enter the synonyms the chatbot does not recognize. Okay. Now that's an assistant that you're going to create, right? You're going to add the dialog skill. And this is where you get the preview link. I spelled it out for you. So that way you're not going to be surprised. Oh, and you see this? This is a different picture here. Because when I was taking a screenshot, I was doing it at a different time, right? Then I posted 3 links for you. Oops, not here. Oh, this is a clarification what you need to do for the experiment. Okay, so you want to make sure you have your chatbot at least 2 to 3 days before the assignment is due. When the assignment is, so here's the calendar. Assignment is due on the 4th, right? So probably aim to have your chatbot done by the evening of the 1st, because you also need to do the write-up, right? Okay, so 4th is when you submit, so maybe 2nd, no later than 2nd. Okay, so then you've got a couple people to test it. And the 4th it's due, but I'm gonna tell you, don't wait until the last day. Aim to have it done 24 hours before it's due. Well, that's what I did as a student. I tried to have assignment ready 24 hours before it was due, if possible. Okay, so you're gonna share the public links. You're gonna ask participant to run it, right? You're gonna take notes on any adjustments you make. Also, take a look at type intents and type entities, right? Then you're gonna repeat an experiment. Are there any differences in type intents, type entities? Have you noticed differences in relevancy, right? Then you want to share your findings and observations. But maybe if you did not need to make any changes, then explain why. Maybe your chatbot has a lot of the options response types, which helps because I know exactly what my chatbot can do. It's much easier to select an option than to type something, okay? It's much easier. Another thing is that when you launch my chatbot, I should be able to know what the chatbot is expecting. If your prompt is how may I help you, I'm lost. I don't know what to enter, right? So please make sure that the greeting is descriptive. Well, because see, in a walkthrough is different. It gets you started with things, right? It just step by step shows you how to get started, but it's not a prescription for what you need to submit. See what I'm saying? So the chatbot's greeting message should be descriptive. It should tell me what the chatbot does. I should know what enter. Because if I say, how can I help you? What is this? Huh? Yes, you can help me. Go do my full-time job work. No, I'm joking. But anyway, how can I help you? Huh? Well, this is a very broad. You want to make sure that a user understands what the topic of the chatbot, okay? Yeah, but this is a conversation log. Well, maybe the picture looks a little bit different from what I just showed you, but the idea is the same, okay? The idea is the same. You've got this, right? And you have to take a screenshot because you need to show that you ran the experiment for 2 days. The screenshot should show that you ran it for 2 days at least, okay? Now, you're gonna go and look at the conversations, right? You may edit classifications if needed. And I showed you what I did, right? I edited the classification. And then when next time I run it, and when I type explain, it's gonna know that I mean explain. Okay. Oh, here, this is just the link where you can get some expressions on how to work with date and times. There are some examples, and this is on gathering information with slots. There are some additional documentation because it's the code that basically you're gonna need to reuse. If you use the phone number, you will have to borrow the expression from documentation. You're not gonna submit another example of the chatbot, but looking up the expressions and reusing specific like few lines of code, this is fine. This is encouraged, right? You're not gonna be sitting and reinventing the expression for email, right? Go ahead and use mine. do not submit my chatbot, but use an expression, right? Okay, I hope it makes sense, right? So any questions?
I got a question.
Yes.
This can get very complex. Does
Okay.
IBM generate a visual of the flow that you have here?
Okay, dialog. This is a flow. Oops. You cannot generate the flow chart here. No. You need to use the visual to generate the flow chart. Nope, you cannot. You will need to be creative. You will need to go to, like, this is my email. Your email comes with the applications. See, in the apps, you have a visual somewhere. Do you see this? So you go to the email, your student email. In here, you've got visual, and you can save to your cloud, right? You have a space on a cloud. We have OneDrive space. Is university, so you use visual, save it to your cloud. Okay. It does not generate the chart for you. Okay. Did I address the question?
Yep, that answers the question. The other question I have is for Elena with Bard. They just released that yesterday, and they're continually adding. The way that Google does it is they're continually pulling information from the internet, where I think ChatGPT they had stopped at some point. So
Yeah,
I mean,
I tried to do. Oh, it kicked me out. Oh, here it is. I tried writing the two. See that? This is what I did. I said, how do you say hello in multiple languages? See what it did? Translation. Yes, but Elena, go ahead and answer the question.
so my question is with internet data, the volume is it keeps growing, but there's a lot of just bad information out there. At what point or how far in the future do you see that they're, where we'll be giving more correct answers?
That question is for me, guess, right?
Yeah.
Well, that is a tough question, and I'm afraid I cannot educate. I cannot give an answer which I will like. The thing is, this is growing in such a way that probably they already launched in 6 months next version, from one version which was text to video, and going with this speed, I would say. So you let me say, let's first confirm that I correctly understand your question. Is regarding when we can expect, let's say, more conclusive answer, not that the answer is maybe not totally accurate. That is the question about the accuracy of the answer.
Right, that's the question. And Bard gave a wrong answer, and their stock plunged like $100 billion or something like that 6 months ago. They just released yesterday.
Yes.
But they keep adding more data to their,
Yes.
looking at more data, and people are entering. I guess you can enter anything. I mean, at what point can you really expect this thing to be really that useful?
At what point will be? Well, this is very complex question, because then in parallel there are other questions. When you add more data and more data and more data, you have to look to all these problem regarding what development will occur that can be unethical, dangerous for the human being. And with this growth of data, in parallel goes what is the general AI. General AI, the one which will be mimicking human, and the way it goes is projected in 10 years. So regarding the data growing in up until when, I think until when we can get to some dangerous point, and we as a human will have to stop this. I don't think there is other possible stop of this development.
Okay.
That is my take. I think until some dangerous point appear in which we will see danger for the humanity, and as a human, the same thing which happened with nuclear energy, smart human, they did compromise and put into controlling all this nuclear energy. I think the same thing will happen here. At some point, we will have to make a very tough decision, because this will have to be controlled at some point. When that is possible, that is impossible to perceive when.
Okay.
See here,
That's my take. You know, there are many different opinions on this. That is what I think.
I have a question back on the assignment. In the description, it says that we should have at least 3 variations in each parent node for responses. Do we just need one of image, video, or
okay.
do we need multiple?
Oh, okay. 3 variations, you say? Okay.
It says the responses at each parent node should have at least
Okay.
3 variations.
Okay, this is a
use-
variation.
Yeah, so I guess
No,
my question is,
this.
do we need just 3 variations in total? Or I mean, how should I
This is
say
a
that?
variation.
Yeah, I mean, I understand
This
that.
right here is a variation. At least
Right.
3.
But
Well-
do we need like video on each parent node? Do we need?
No.
Okay, so that's so
Okay,
if
okay.
at least we have it in one spot, I guess, right?
Okay, well, this is where vocabulary comes from. This is where vocabulary is important. There is a response type terminology and response variation. Response type is text, video, image, right? This is a response type. Response variation is a paraphrasing of the wording. So whenever you respond with a text, you want to have at least 3 paraphrasing. See?
I gotcha.
Yes. So this is yeah, I understand. It's not just you. Several people have this question. Thank you very much for asking this.
Well, it's a different variation on the text is one thing, or do you need a variation on the like type, I guess. So are we supposed to have at least
3? See,
is there a limit on like the type of response, if it's image, video, or other, is there a requirement on that?
Yes, you need to try to do like one of which. Try to have a text, right? Image is easy, right? Well, in fact, look at this way. When you launch a chatbot, right, have something like options response, because you want to help the users, right, what the chatbot does. So when you launch it, you might want to show like a message. You want to show a picture. And then you want to give user an option of what to do, like I'm doing here. Well, that's not a prescription, but this is one way to do this. So, Jesus, it's like, good evening, I'm Mr. BMI calculator, right? Then in here, you have a picture, and then it's asking you how may I help you and gives you options, right? But if I was going to refresh it, it's gonna phrase my response differently. So it falls back to vocabulary. Response type means if it's a text, if it's an image, if it's a video, if it's a pause, that's a response type. And response variation is a paraphrasing of the same sentence, in other words. So like you see here, if I want to select, perhaps if I'm gonna type something that it does not recognize, see, I'm gonna type CPR, right? It's gonna tell me, what it's gonna tell me? I don't understand, can you try rephrasing? I'm gonna type something like this, dog again. Is it gonna say, I don't understand, can you start rephrasing? Can you try rephrasing? No. See this, it says, can you reword? I'm not understanding, so this is a variation. See this? It's the same, it's a textual response, but this is a variation. It told me that the chatbot does not understand me, but it showed me in different words. Because see, like if I enter something the chatbot doesn't recognize, and I get this same response over here, right? Then it's hard to tell, it's easy to tell that it's a chatbot. It just, it's a parrot or something like that, right? It just keeps repeating itself. You want it to be more like a human, right? So you want to say the same message differently. See, variation is saying the same response differently, the same message. Where image, image, text, options, it's a response type. So that's a matter of just the vocabularies, right? Okay. What is, oh, okay, I'm looking at the post. Okay, I'm looking at the, okay. Now, so the thing is, does it make sense? Guys, does it make sense?
Yes, yes, thank you for that clarification.
No problem, no problem. I'm so glad that you asked, because I'm sure that there are people who's going to watch this recording and have the same question. And also, in fact, you may want to watch the recording, even though you attended. If you watch the recording, it will help you understand better. Trust me, sometimes you need to watch the same topic more than once. Okay? Any other questions? So I just say, what about Hebrew? And it gives me the answer. And then I say, how do you pronounce it? And it tells me how to pronounce it. See that? Oops, if you scroll down, you'll see it. And then I try and I picked it up. See this? I asked how to do the CPR, but if you guys take the CPR class, the first thing that they're gonna tell you is what? You don't check for responsiveness first. The first step is to check if the string is saved. So of course the answers could be incomplete, right? When you do the CPR, number one is to check if the string is saved, not to check for responsiveness. See what I'm saying? Okay. So then I went in and I asked, what about infants? And it went deeper because the steps for infant are different, right? So see this? Then I asked, do I need to be certified? And it keeps on telling me that you have to be certified. And I ask CPR courses in Maryland, and it gives me the different agencies that offer these courses, right? So in my case, I have CPR certification, and I'm with American Heart Association. Okay, so here I asked the difference between the ChatGPT and Watson, right? Assistant, and I ask when you use each. See? Then I ask how to, for HTML code, on how to create table. So suppose that I'm interested and I'm a little lazy, I want to know how to create table in HTML. So see, this is an example. I'm not going to submit this, but what I would do, I would just edit it. I would take this, see table row, table header, right? Table data. And suppose that I want to have more than 3 columns, right? I'm gonna customize it. I'm gonna add, right? Well, I kind of like it, but it didn't quite give me what I need. So what I did was I asked about the formatting. And in here, it tells me how to add border, right? It tells me more, and then it gives me more enhanced code, right? It provides me an example. And then I said, can I add image to table cell? And it tells me, gives me the code with example of how to add image. And see this, my conversations are saved. So then if I'm ready, I can go back here and I can regenerate the response, or I can keep on asking more questions. Okay. So just know it. I practice it too. I checked it out too. Okay. So any other questions? Anything else, folks? While you have me here. No? Well, if there are no questions, then I'm gonna end this session, and you're gonna get this is what you're gonna expect. You're gonna get a recording, right? And you're gonna get the JSON file for the chatbot, and you're gonna get the slides. Okay? Thank you for attending this session. And well, Professor Azan, do you have anything to add before I stop?
Yelena, thank you very much for the session. I just want to remind all the folks to follow the instructions, to follow the announcements. Don't leave it to last minute, and target to finish everything by Sunday, 3 days before the due date. That's all I wanted to remind. Thank you for the session.
Sure. So I guess I'm gonna end the recording then, and we are almost done with the semester, right? About a week and a half to go. Okay. Okay, stop the recording.